Hi, good evening everyone.
Hi, hello everyone.
I'm Dr. Sonia Lal Gupta
And I'm Dr. Sameer Gupta.
and we welcome you again to our evening session, about COVID-19. And it's been a couple of weeks that, we're back after a couple of weeks, and we thought we'll just kind of update you on what's been happening, and then we can take some questions. And let's start. I think the first and foremost, let's look at the numbers, Sameer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot has happened in the last 2 to 3 weeks since we've been on. There have been a lot of the numbers have increased. A lot of updates are there. A lot of developments have happened in medicine. We are now on lockdown 3.0. We'll talk about all this and more. And please, like always, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them, and we will try and get to them. But I think to begin with, if we start with the numbers.
Yeah, so India currently, as of today, in the evening when we last checked, we have total of 49,391 cases, out of which Maharashtra is leading with more than around 15,000 cases and around 1,694 deaths, so 1,694 deaths. Now, if we look at these numbers from 2 weeks ago when we did our last Facebook Live, India at that time was at approximately 20,471 cases and around 652 deaths. So I think based on this, we've gone up in 2 weeks by almost...
We more than doubled. So
Yeah, more than doubled.
there is this
Two and a half times.
thing called the doubling time, and that doubling time is absolutely essential to monitor when in this disease. For example, in America at one point the doubling time was 24 hours, was about 48 hours, 2 days. In India right now, the doubling time is currently somewhere around 12 days. And this is, the reduction in the doubling time, the difference in the doubling time is because of social distancing that we've been following. The doubling time has increased because of the lockdown and all the other measures that we have taken.
Absolutely, and that's what we have to look at, because I know for the past couple of days, people are getting a little scared that, oh God, 3,900 cases in a day, and what's happening. See, so there are two reasons when cases go up. It's not because of, the relaxation, firstly, of, the lockdown. And the reason for that is, you wouldn't see the difference right away. What you're seeing today is basically from 2 weeks ago. The other thing is, more people are being tested. Increase in testing would increase the number of cases as well. And as we know, and I think this has been long known, and I think we should clarify that again. This is long known that with COVID-19 infection, more than 80%, approximately 80% people have mild infection or are asymptomatic.
Yeah, and it's funny, people are coming and telling me, doctors, in fact, some doctors whom I know have come and told me, doc, I heard people are asymptomatic, that you can have the disease and not know about it. But we've known about this.
And
we've known about it since January.
Exactly. This has been well documented, in all different parts of the world. So just something to keep in mind. Again, not to get nervous looking at the numbers. I think India, looking at the doubling rate, as Sameer said, doubling rate is what tells you where the country is and how well the situation is. So let's not go by day-to-day numbers.
Yeah.
That should not, bring about fear and panic. But that being said, of course, we have to, follow our rules. Look at what happened, Sameer, with the liquor shops opening.
Yeah, it's funny that the liquor shops open and there's this stampede that's happening, and that's so bad. It's kind of funny that how much people want liquor, but it's also really bad that that there's no social distancing being followed. Everybody's out over and above each other. So guys, please follow social distancing. Otherwise, everything that we've gained over the last 6 weeks of lockdown, the economy has gone down, things have happened, everything is going to go down to the dogs if we do not follow social distancing, if we don't take care.
I just want to say hi to Aman, Meher, Payal and Gloitson. Thank you for being here, guys.
Thank you so much.
Please let us know if you have any questions. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're following your social distancing, wearing your masks when you go out. And most importantly, washing your hands.
Yeah. So some other updates since we last met. There have been multiple claims of new treatments, new therapies, new medicines, new vaccinations. It's important that all of us keep this in mind, that right now, for example, Israel came up and said that they found this new corona antibody, and everybody's saying this is the holy gospel, but it's not. this new antibody that they've found can help neutralize the virus, but this is in very, very early stages.
Exactly.
This has to be tested in humans. They're going to file a patent for it. There are going to be studies about it, and only then will we be able to say, you know what, this is good, this is important. But right now we are far from that.
Exactly, and same even with the vaccine claim by Italy. So what they've seen so far, the stage where they're at right now is what they've seen is that in the mice where they were testing it in the laboratory, when they saw that it's working on human cells. But now they still have to go on to, and today if we have time we'll discuss about how the vaccine process goes about, so we can kind of understand why it takes that long. But they still have to go to the next stage where they will actually test it on humans, and right now they've said that that will be probably after the summer. So it will still take time. No matter how exciting that sounds, it's great. I think the good part we have to see is this progress, and that will happen. At this current time, literally there are like 100 trials going on all over the world, and definitely I think soon we shall see some trial or the other coming about, which will show us good results.
So Arpit has asked, we are already at 50,000 cases. Do you think the curve is flattening? And Meher has asked, what do you think will happen after the 16th? Do you think it will get better? 16th will be 8 weeks of lockdown. So it's important to see what we're seeing today. The case numbers were 4,000 new cases yesterday in India, right? 4,000 new cases in India yesterday, and it's been 2,500 the day before, 2,900 yesterday. So this number is a reflection of what happened 2 weeks ago, right? There's a lag.
Exactly.
A person can get infected, have a incubation period of about anywhere from 5 days to 10 days. Then he gets tested, and it takes 2 days for the test results to come back. So what you're seeing over here is a 2-week lag. So what you're seeing today is what happened about 10 days to 2 weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the lockdown gets completely open. Does the government decide to continue the lockdown for a little bit more, or we are able to slowly open it up? Like Delhi, where we live, is now partially open. So you can see a lot of people more on the street.
Right.
You can see a lot more activity. The traffic is increased.
And I understand, with our Chief Minister saying that eventually we have to learn how to live with the coronavirus. But that means that people have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
If you will not follow social distancing when you will go out, if you will not wear your mask, if you will not wash your hands, then it'll be just a very sad situation, because 2 weeks later we will be hit by this. And the worst situation can be that multiple buildings or multiple people get, start having symptoms or they test positive, and suddenly more areas are being sealed up, and is the lockdown being extended? And as Meher said, it's already been 8 weeks, and I know everybody's desperate that the lockdown opens up. But the government will have to find that safety zone, and that can only happen if the curve continues, does not go up, and the doubling rate does not decrease. I mean, right now the doubling rate is around 12 days, but it should not start going back to like 10 days or 8 days or 4 days. Then we're in trouble.
Then we're in trouble.
So I think it's extremely, extremely important that people have to, follow that.
Let's talk a little bit about the vaccination.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's been a lot of talk about vaccinations. When will the vaccines come out? Who's going to come out with the vaccine? To begin with, there are so many different people who've come and claimed that they have the right mixture for the vaccination, that they have it and they're going to test it. So, as we speak, there are 8 vaccines in human trials. 4 of them are in China, and about 100 are in the pre-evaluation stages. So there are about, close to about 120 different vaccines which are currently in different phases of development. But it's important to understand how the vaccines how the vaccines work and what is the time frame of them.
Before that, do we want to take a question, since we have a question now?
Akash Saglani has asked, do you think domestic and international travel will open anytime soon with restrictions in place?
Honestly, I think we're not even in a position to answer that, and I think that's something the government will have to. At this point, again, I think in the next couple of weeks, by the time lockdown 3.0 is at the end point, maybe they'll have an idea looking at the numbers and looking at everything else, how they can go about that, so definitely how will the airline go about it is something they will have to decide with their own policies and discussion with the government.
Yeah, it's and even if they start, you're right, at some point the travel industry has to open up. People have to travel, they have to go back home. I personally know of people who have been stuck here and there and they want to go back home. So at some point this will have to open. When it will open, it's anybody's guess. But travel has to open at some point. Whether they say, only one person will sit on this on a 3-seater plane, only one person will sit, or in trains, in the bogies, they'll have only X number of people. One person per all four. What they do, but at some point travel will have to open.
Absolutely, and I think with time we'll have an idea, and so again there's going to be a mass evacuation on Thursday,
and that is very impressive. Let's say it is very, very impressive that the government is planning this.
Absolutely. So at the same time, I think things like these also give them an idea. It's almost like test runs for them to see how they will perform when things go to the next level. So I think it's great that what is happening. And we had another question from Aman, that do you think the increment is because of the relief of the lockdown? So as we said, what we are seeing currently, Aman, is not from the last 2 days, but it's actually from the last 2 weeks. So what effect will happen from the lockdown, from today, the numbers we'll see in the coming 2 weeks. So, going back to, how vaccines, we'll talk a little bit about symptoms till we get the next question. We'll also talk about the vaccines, the process and the steps of actually why getting a vaccine out takes so much time. Because I think people are waiting, with their hands folded, I think, that when will the vaccine come out? And, it will take time. And I think, and the reason is that it's not an easy process. There are actually multiple steps and multiple phases through which a vaccine needs to be approved. Like step 1, let us suppose a company has a vaccine. They have this, test. They want to test it on an animal. So in the first phase, what they're going to basically do is they're going to test this particular trial vaccine on an animal, like in mice, like they tested in Italy, and then they will see whether it's safe and whether is there an immune response. Now, if that immune response happens and they are safe, then they go on to step 2, where they basically do phase 2 part, where they then look at this trial on a small group of human beings, so a small number of human beings. And if that works out well and the results are encouraging, then they go up to phase 2, which is basically whether I think they're looking at more than 100 people, right?
Yeah. So they tested on a larger population with several hundred people. So step 1 is animals. Step 2 is a small group of people to make sure that the components are all okay, the person is not dying, there's no allergic reaction, how's the person doing, what is the antibody that the person generates with that dose of the vaccine, because there are different doses of the vaccine, right? How much virus should I give? So they do this in the second stage, and then it's in a few hundred people. They test the data, and then the step 3 is the long process. That's the phase 3 clinical trial. That's the longest. It involves thousands of people, and they evaluate the effectiveness of the vaccine. Then they check that now we vaccinated this person. Now let me expose him to the virus. Let me see if the person actually gets the infection or not. And this is very important. All these steps are very important.
Absolutely.
Because if we get an ineffective vaccine, we get a vaccine that does not work. Right. So supposing you say, I have this vaccine, you put it in all these 1 billion people across the world, and this vaccine doesn't work. We are stuck.
No, and the biggest problem is look at the amount of money that has gone in, time that has gone in, and hope that has gone in. Right. More importantly for that. So that's why phase 3 trials are very important. Typically they compare that vaccine, that experimental drug, with a placebo. A placebo is like a sham of sorts, and they kind of see. So, and nobody knows what they're getting, and they kind of then see what is the response, what is the safety profile, and on a larger scale, how are the people responding. Then they go to the next phase where they can look for approval. Now, looking at this emergent situation of a global pandemic, it would be interesting to see how quickly these phases go. Will the government or will the WHO maybe try to see the early responses and maybe do a go ahead sooner? That we will only know with time. Yeah,
so so the vaccines are a little while away, and at some point during this, in the last 24 hours, I have personally gotten 3 to 4 calls of people who've tested positive for COVID, and what are the steps that you need to do if you or your family member get tested positive for COVID is what we will talk about shortly. But let's take a few questions.
Sure, absolutely. So Prerna has a question that do you think plasma therapy is successful? So yeah.
So with plasma therapy, so first let's talk about, we've put a beautiful video on our Facebook, and we'll share the link in the comment section after this. But plasma therapy, the way it works is that supposing somebody over here has gotten infected with the coronavirus. Now the body builds antibodies which are fighter cells against the infection. Okay, so somebody gets infected and the body develops antibodies of fighter cells. Now you take out those fighter cells from that person's once he's recovered, and now there's a second person who's got infected, you give him those antibodies. Okay, so you've taken antibodies, the fighter cells from one person, and you put it in the second person. That is called plasma therapy. Okay? That is called plasma therapy. Now there have been some small studies out of China, a few out of Europe, America, that yes, they have had some success with plasma therapy, but these are very small numbers, they're very small patients, and these were people who were very, very, very sick.
Exactly.
So they got good results with plasma therapy in a small number of people, but does it actually work for everyone is something that time will tell.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of things people have to keep in mind. For anybody to even get the plasma therapy, and the blood group has to be the same. So you have to get somebody who's actually had COVID in the same blood group. Then and then they take out the blood, they separate the antibodies and they give it back. Now in Delhi they've done a few cases, and so far they've seen positive results. So let's put it this way, it is a possibly something that we can look forward to, but again with time we'll get more results.
But plasma therapy as of now is being given only to very sick people.
Yeah, absolutely.
To very sick people only. It is not for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like we said earlier also, only 80% of people have mild symptoms to no symptoms, and they do not require plasma therapy.
The next question we have is from Payal. What about skin symptoms for COVID? So, over time, so this is, this virus is mind-boggling, and even for I think the whole medical fraternity, every single day is trying to understand it. I think actively we are seeing something where policies are changing by the day. You discover something new, the whole idea changes, you see different things. So a lot of this is observations over time. So in December, December or so is when initially this virus was properly identified, and then people started looking at the symptoms, and we all know about the lung symptoms, we know about shortness of breath. By now we know about the high fever, we know about people having this dry cough, body aches and all of that. But now people are also noticing other symptoms. So yes, in some patients they are able to see different types of rashes, different types of skin changes are also visible. Not in all patients, but some patients. For example, loss of taste and loss of smell are some symptoms that are seen actually, interestingly, more milder cases and not very severe cases.
Yeah, also. So there are anecdotal reports, like one person observes here, one person observes
One study
there.
that we were reading, Samir, actually showed also that, not to scare anyone, but this particular virus might increase the tendency of your blood to actually thicken more.
Yeah, so there are multiple studies that have shown that. DIC.
Yeah, so when it thickens, when the blood thickens, the chances of it forming a clot in any of your blood vessels, whether it's the brain, it's the heart, it's your legs, any part of the body, it can do that. And there are people that are presenting at times with heart attacks secondary to this, or even presenting with strokes. So again, this is not very new information. We're trying to understand it, we're trying to take it all in, because based on this information, treatment protocols will come out, medications will be given separately, blood thinners might be given. So this is, this is not a straightforward disease.
Yeah, so the body forms more blood clots, right? And these blood clots can go everywhere in the body, right? They happen in the lungs, they happen in your legs, they happen in your brain, and this is all new information, right? The thing with COVID is that every day we are learning something new. what we knew 1 week ago is completely out today, and we've learned something completely new, right? So this is what we're talking to you today, is how things stand as of now.
Exactly.
And to give an example, right? I mean, when we started out doing the Facebook lives, it was all hydroxychloroquine, right?
Yeah.
That was the holy gospel. Everybody wanted hydroxychloroquine. Everybody was hoarding hydroxychloroquine. But now, hydroxychloroquine is passé, right? I mean, it's like, it's not the holy grail. It's okay, and they're testing it, but it's not as helpful as it was once claimed.
Absolutely. So I think every day, like remdesivir now had two results. You know, one trial in China wasn't very positive, but the trial in the US was very positive. So I think day by day, we'll get to know more information. We have a question from Alison. Have you heard that the virus has mutated from the original virus in China to the virus in Europe? You know, Alison, this is such an interesting question because there's a lot of material going around about different strains of this virus. Even in India, within India, there, does a certain part of India have another strain? Does where we are in Delhi, is there a different strain? Has the virus mutated? So, in reality, viruses continuously mutate. Even if you take the simple H1N1, that continuously mutates too. That's why every year we get a new vaccine that comes out. That's why every year we have a new flu shot. Otherwise the same flu shot can be given. We can get one flu shot forever and that's it. But it doesn't work that way with this particular, with these particular the viruses. So yes, I think the fact is that probably it is mutating depending on the place, situation, and again they're studying it continuously. And I think again.
And one more thing is important. That in the same year, someone can have the corona and they can also have the flu, right? So get the flu vaccine irrespective.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Get your flu vaccine.
Different,
Yeah, stay away from mosquitoes.
Yeah.
You're gonna get dengue. You're gonna get malaria. Those things are still there.
Absolutely, and again, the flu vaccine different. Coronavirus vaccine is completely different. The two different infections, two different viruses, not related in any way. So yes, you still have to take your flu shot. And I think, guys, this is the time to understand the importance of it. Internationally in the US, there was still a lot of strain on getting the flu shot done, and in India somehow that much importance is not given to it and people don't believe in it. But believe me, here we are, as I said a little while ago, with our hands folded, praying for the vaccine. And we have, even from the swine flu, a lot of people die. A lot of people get infected every year.
We had the pandemic in 2009 of the swine flu.
Exactly. So it's very important that we all take the flu vaccine every year. Just a reminder, there's a reason that is, So in the wait of another vaccine for a condition that we don't know much about, we are forgetting other infections that exist currently in this world, for which there is a lot that we can still do. Right?
So Rahul is saying, we are afraid for parents, and you're right. I am afraid for my parents, and she's afraid for her parents. We're all afraid for our parents and grandparents.
And one thing we've discovered is, as parents complain teenagers don't listen, I can tell you parents also don't listen. So as much as we are afraid, it's very difficult to make parents understand as well that please take precautions. But that was just on a lighter note. Next question we have from Prerna is, if the plasma therapy or a vaccine is successful, can the lockdown open up faster?
So the vaccine will take, we just talked about, right? The vaccine is going to take a while to come back. For plasma therapy also, I think it's going to be a call. It's going to be a call that we'll have to take. I don't know if plasma therapy it's expensive. It's tough to do. But yes, it'll help. It'll give a lot of confidence to a lot of people that that yes, there is some therapy out there which is successful. Which can help treat you if you're really sick and maybe even prevent death.
And again, the important part, I know we keep on stressing on this, but this is really important, guys. More than 95% people do recover fully. So yes, 5 people are critically ill. 5% people are critically ill, but 95% do recover. So as much as we wait for the treatment, yes, but at least let's look at the positive for now, because that's the best that we have. So, Rahul has a question. For Bauji, what precautions do we take? So yeah, definitely, for parents, as we said, they have to be, or grandparents, I think again, even though the lockdown has relaxed, Sameer, I think people still should try avoid going out as much as possible. Only go out when you have to go out. Especially for the elderly, anybody above the age of 65, avoid going out.
Very important. Don't.
Even right now, do not go out. There's still a lot of cases coming up. Maintain social distancing. In case you do go out, you have to be very careful. Always wear the mask. Keep a sanitizer with you. Keep cleaning your hands if you touch any surfaces.
Like we have one here.
Yeah, so you have to take these precautions, and that's the only way right now you can actually save yourself.
So one more important thing that we have to talk about before we go is what happens if your test comes back positive. Okay, I've had at least 3 people call me up in the last 24 hours where either they themselves or their loved one has tested positive for COVID in India, right? Now these are people who are staying at home, had occasional visits outside, maybe a contact with a positive person. Okay, so what do? First, if your test has come back positive, the lab is going to send the report to the government and inform them who the person is who's gotten positive, but along with all the contact information. Okay, so rest assured, your result is going to the government. The government is keeping a very close tab on who's getting positive. Step 2 is call up and tell all your contacts over the last week, 10 days that you have tested positive. Okay, go back and tell everyone whom you've met, listen, my COVID came back positive, my COVID came back positive. It's very important to do that. Step 3, there is an Arogya Setu app by the government. The Arogya Setu app, log in, make your account and put in over there that you have tested positive. Very important. If you don't want to put it on the Arogya Setu app, go to the nodal government. Okay, every area has an officer.
It's a very good app. So it's very easy to download.
Very easy to download. We downloaded it.
Yeah.
So if you do not want to do that on the app, or if you're confused or you can't do it, call up the local health officer. Information is available on the website, and tell them that you have tested positive. Because whether you tell them or not, they already know. Okay, they already know you've tested positive. So tell them. If you are symptomatic, you may need to be hospitalized. Okay, if you have fever and shortness of breath. However, the government has come out with new guidelines that if you have no symptoms or mild symptoms,
very mild symptoms,
then you can get home quarantine. If you do decide to do home quarantine, then you need to be in a separate room, a separate part of the house, preferably have your own bathroom, stay over there and do not interact with other people in the house.
And wear a mask for sure.
Wear a mask. Very, very important.
And if you don't have a separate bathroom, then use sodium hypochlorite, which is nothing but bleach. So basically you can take 4 teaspoons or let's say a cup of bleach, put it into 1 liter of water, mix it, and that is your 1% sodium hypochlorite solution. And we have a lot of slides again on our platform for how we can make this solution. Use that to clean the bathroom, and then the next person uses it. So that is extremely important. And the person who has tested positive, they should ideally use the toilet right in the end if possible, if everybody has to take a shower in the morning or take a bath in the morning or anything like that. Right? Yeah. So if you can, I think these are very important steps, because there's so much confusion, Sameer. I mean, when you were telling me that the number of calls you're getting, and there's so much confusion
everybody's like, oh, what will the government do? What will happen? You know what? It's going to be fine. You can go and just put it on the government website that I got it positive and it'll be fine.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, everybody do download the app, and eventually the government is going to make it compulsory, and people are a little bit concerned about the privacy issue. But I think at this point, it's important. See, Sameer says this all the time, but I think the important part is this one virus. This is this first time, I think, in the history of the world where everybody is dependent on each other. So you have to know, if for yourself, to protect yourself and your family and everybody else, if you download the app and you're aware of who are the people that are sick around you, they will not give you the information on who is sick.
Yep.
So, they will not give you any names, nothing at all. All you get to know is, okay, in this radius, how many people might be positive.
Yep.
So there's no privacy lost in any way over here. So definitely rest assured, I think nothing to worry on that front. We have 2 more questions. You want to take that? One is from Meher. That everyone, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, everyone seems to be walking around normally and getting along with their life, especially in places like Delhi. Isn't it a ticking time bomb? It absolutely is. It most definitely is a ticking time bomb, right? I mean, you go out for a walk and you see people walking around, and you go to the shops and everybody's on top of each other, especially at the liquor store. We will see implications of this. You know, if we will see implications of this. If the numbers increase, rest assured, the government is in Delhi and in other places in the country are going to extend the lockdown. Look what's happening in Maharashtra, right?
And then they might they will take off the relaxation.
They will take off all the relaxations.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
going to complete lockdown.
Yeah.
And look at what's happening in Telangana, right? In Telangana they've extended it, in Maharashtra
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
extended
exactly.
it. If it gets out of control in Delhi or any other city for that matter, which has gotten relaxations, we are in for a lockdown, complete lockdown again.
And so that is why, again, everyone needs to understand they have to follow the rules for prevention. I think Prerna had this question: if you test positive, can you go to any private hospital or a government hospital?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have that choice and you have that option.
Yeah. You know, just go to the private hospital and tell them, listen, I tested positive for COVID, what do I do? Or you can go to a government hospital and you can do that. If you want help and directions, you can just call up the number or go on the Arogya Setu app and they will guide you too. So, you know, there are multiple options. Do not worry. You know, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on the Voice of Health. Subscribe to our page.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, any questions anytime, send it across and we'll try our best to answer it for you. We have a lot of information on our Facebook page, on our website, you know, regarding the particular, you know, regarding COVID-19 and of course a bunch of other things, but especially regarding COVID-19, we're updating every day. And so definitely follow up, you'll at least get your latest updates. And as soon as we hear more about treatments, more about what's new on the plasma therapy world, what's new in the vaccine world,
We'll keep you updated.
We'll keep you updated. But again, before we end, please maintain social distancing, wear your masks, wash your hands. And yes, people tell us that we don't do it when we're over here, but I guess we live together, so there's a little bit, we take that leverage. But when we go out, the moment we step out, we follow every single part, you know, of this. And believe me, we're healthcare workers.
We're at the front line, seeing patients every day.
We are trying to
wearing PPE, the mask, the face shield, everything.
So we're trying to take care as much as possible. So please stay safe, take care, and we'll see you next time on our next Facebook Live. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.